Nice to have you with us. What happened in Southport, of course, is almost beyond the worst nightmare you can think of. And in fact, I said this a lot yesterday. We were all aware loosely of what had happened. This person had gone into a school club and attempted to kill everybody, but killed 3 and injured many others. It wasn't really until yesterday we got a real gauge of just how horrific this was. I don't think any of us were quite expecting that level of disturbing and upsetting detail. But of course, he is but one of, maybe the worst example, he is one of many, and particularly young men, who we have seen of late. In the same week, this crossbow killer, Kyle Clifford, again, unspeakable violence used by the looks of things in a crime. What is happening here? I know violence has always been with us in one respect or another, Emily, but we seem to be reaching some kind of horrific crescendo on this.
I completely agree. I think what we've got to stop doing, though, is trying to make excuses. What this person did was absolutely disgusting. It was evil, pure evil. And what we need to actually now address is how on earth it happened, when so many, what we're starting to learn now, and obviously I can't speak because I have the full facts have not yet come to surface, but how, when so many agencies were involved, did not one person take action to actually intervene and stop this person being able to even be in a position to enter that building. There are no excuses at all for what this person did. It is absolutely nothing but pure evil.
And in terms, I mean, it seems the same, doesn't it, when we see a terrible story of a child that has been killed in the home. We've seen this quite recently, but those stories sadly do happen on a disturbingly regular basis. It's almost the same story, isn't it? You know, you find out the doctor knew, social services knew, a couple of teachers knew, the neighbours knew, but nobody somehow had put all of this together.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what shocks me. How can so many individuals, so many parties be aware, this person be on their radar, but yet no action was taken? We've heard obviously that Prevent had been involved. Where was the action being taken? It's no good if we've got the services in place, but yet action isn't taking. What are we doing as a society to protect children? I'm actually lost for words on what even to say in relation to this case. It is just utterly disgusting.
Is there a view then on what is happening to particularly young men who are, and you're right, nobody wants to make an excuse for somebody, because every time you explain it, it could sound like some kind of justification. You know, the minute you sort of tread into the territory of, well, it was a mental illness, then you're almost absolving a certain level of responsibility, and nobody wants to do that. But there does seem to be levels of violence that are out there. I think that's the bit here. I mean, the amount of violence involved in these particular killings and others, but this in particular, it's so off the scale, it's off the charts in terms of the viciousness and the frenzied nature of what this person did. I mean, what the hell is going on?
Well, I mean, we can put blames on social media, on internet and what they're reading, but ultimately the failing here is that action wasn't taken. So what's happening is the system is effectively overwhelmed. The fact that they're not responding when there are cries for help in terms of this individual needs to be stopped. So what's happening is the actions aren't being taken. There is no excuse. There's no rationale. We cannot say why this individual did what he did, other than and I reiterate it, this was an evil crime, but actually what we need to do, and what's happening, is we're not responding quick enough. So if somebody's being flagged in relation to being a risk, prompt action needs to be taken. There needs to be a communication of risk, and there needs to be appropriate surveillance of that said individual.
Listen, Emily, thank you for your time. Emily Konstantas, CEO of the Safeguarding Alliance. That's an organisation from around the world who share a mutual passion and drive to put an end to safeguarding failings. And there are many safeguarding failings at all. Susan says, can you please stop showing the monster on screen, drawing or photograph? You're talking about the radicalisation of young men, and still a drawing of this person is on screen. He will be a hero to others. I don't think, I mean, I'm not even naming the guy. I don't think many people would be a hero, but of course it is, Susan is absolutely right, it is that contingent of people that we're really talking about who do see people like that as a hero, because I would imagine this individual saw other people like that as a hero. He thought Al-Qaeda were heroes. He thought people who carried out school shootings in America were heroes. He thought people that slaughtered children were heroes. I don't think this guy had any specific allegiance to one group other than those that are hell-bent on causing some level of carnage. That appears to me to be where he came from. But where does that come from? Where does that, I mean, how do you, I mean, we can talk about mental health and all the rest of it, but how do you descend so deep into that pit of frenzied insanity that you are getting your feed, if you like, from violence, murder, torture, rape and slaughter? That's the bit that appeases you. That's the outlet for everything that is wrong. Ray is in Colchester on this point. What do you got for us, Ray? Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Funny enough, I spoke to you the other day on this very subject.
On this very point, yeah, fire away.
Yeah, and I'll kind of reiterate it. I mean, look, what we've done over the last 40, 50 years, we've denigrated men's role in society. Masculinity is now toxic by default. We've changed an education system so it's no longer suited for men. It's not about, you know, sportsmanship and all of those things that used to be geared for men. It's now geared more for females. Yeah. So we've created a world where men themselves are no longer see a proper role for themselves. At the same time, we used to know that the most dangerous people in the world are young men because of their inherent power and violence. And we used to put in the army or give them skills or train them that actually give them disciplines. We stopped doing that. So now what we have is basically a group of people who are denigrated at every turn. And then on top of that, we then give them the most powerful thing we've ever invented, the internet, which is now has algorithms which feeds them the very things that they want in their small little bunkers or where in their rooms. So
but why would, I mean, I'm with you on what you're saying, that we've sort of emasculated this entire group of young people. But at the same time, most of them wouldn't turn to violence to kind of, fill a void.
No, but here's the rub. What we've also done at the same time, the way we used to bring up children, we used to have strong boundaries. Some people still have strong boundaries, but that magic word no is now really if it's heard at all, it's a very flexible no. So when you no longer have boundaries and when you push against those walls and you find those walls are flexible, when you finally come up to something, it be in a relationship where that word no now means something, because you've never had to cope with the actually being disappointed in life, never knowing how to cope with failure. That's why then blokes then resort to violence, because that's their default position.
Is it also a kind of, you know, because these lone figures who have, and they are so often lone figures, you know, very rarely is it someone who's got an active social life and they play five-a-side at the weekend and on a Saturday night they're down at the cinema with a box of popcorn. These are usually people who spend a lot of time, if not all their time, in the bedroom, just relentlessly watching bad stuff. Is it copycat related as well? Because, you know, if you are living in an existence where there are no mates, you've got no circle of friends or social life or relationship, then, you know, you get into some of these chat rooms and these groups and you find a kinship, right? You find other people, wow, he thinks like me. There's an injustice. Yeah, I'm being discriminated against because I'm a bloke or because I'm, you know, the wrong colour or because I, you know, won't conform to what people call the rule book, etc.
Well, you make your own reality. And within that reality, within that world, if that world is being reinforced by one, what the computers are feeding you, to whatever circle of communication, suddenly you've created a reality where you are the hero. Yeah?
Yeah.
And so you've now got an absolutely toxic situation. You've got someone who effectively becomes socially cut off from around them, is being fed by the algorithm what they wish to see, and very much like having any drug, it releases endorphins, so you're basically going to keep on doing it. You then have all this world where you're creating your own world of which you are the hero, and that definition of hero is now warped.
And you've satisfied yourself that the injustice is very real, it's not imagined, you know, this is genuinely happening, everything is an injustice, it's all against me, I need to somehow get some sort of retribution on all of the ills and injustices that are going on in my life. Listen, Ray, thank you. That's Ray in Colchester on radicalisation. I mean, I think there it is, right there in a nutshell. A lot of what Ray was just saying does explain it. We perhaps just live in a world where you can facilitate your kind of evilness or your kind of vacuum, whatever it is, you can facilitate it via other groups of people. You know, I mentioned at the beginning the incel murder, a big list that I gave of people who'd carried out horrendous attacks. And a couple of years ago, the incel murderer Jake Davidson, who shot 5 people to death. That included his own mother and a 3-year-old. This was in Plymouth, as I remember rightly, and it was horrific. But again, the story, the backstory, you know, the radicalisation, the whole incel thing and everything that had gone with it. You know, he was part of groups and comment boards and all sorts of social media networks that kind of fanned the flames of what he saw was wrong. And he was going to be the one to act on it. And I'll be a hero to those people. I won't be around to witness it because this person turned the gun on themselves, leaving 5 dead and 6 including him. But that was a good example of that. You know, here's my vacuous life. Life's unfair. It's almost like the kind of teen angst thing that never goes away, I suppose.